We begin shortly. I have a
Housekeeping
housekeeping
announcement. We have the
publishers
placed the books
the books
outside, right outside the hall in the lobby. So any of you who would like to buy some books anytime during the program may just walk out and buy your book.
Check, check, check. Mic testing, testing, testing. Mic testing.
Hello.
Century global order and ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the organizers, Forum for Nationalist Thinkers, a think tank based in Hyderabad, and Best Innovation University, a private university in Andhra Pradesh, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you, of our distinguished guests present here today in this August gathering. Thank you all for being here today. Friends, we also acknowledge the presence of two founder members of the Forum for Nationalist Thinkers who are here among us today in spite of their busy schedules. Shri N. Ramchandra Rao Garu, the State President of BJP Telangana, and Shri Y.L. Srinivas Garu, the Vice Chancellor of Samakka Sarakka Central Tribal University, Telangana. We thank you, sirs, for your continued support to us and wish you the very best in your continued service to this nation. To begin, permit me to introduce and invite on stage beg your pardon. To begin, permit me to introduce and invite on stage our dignitaries for this evening. And let's begin with the ladies. May I first invite Dr. Rupa Vasudevan onto the stage, please. A big round of applause, please. May I ask all of you to kindly settle down? We have enough chairs. Dr. Rupa Vasudevan is a distinguished educationist and a founder and chancellor of Best Engineering, Science and Technology Innovation University, a state university in Andhra Pradesh. Dr. Rupa is the governing body member of INSA's Women Association under the Indian National Science Academy. She also serves as the academic nominee on the Karnataka State Higher Education Council, Bangalore. May I request Srimati Annapurna Pragna, Bharati, Hyderabad to kindly welcome Dr. Rupa Vasudevan. May I now welcome Mrs. Uma Sudhir, our guest of honor for today, onto the stage, ma'am. May I request Dr. Girish Pawar, Associate Professor of University of Hyderabad, to kindly welcome Madam Sudhir with a bouquet. Mrs. Uma Sudhir, a senior journalist, brings over 3 decades of distinguished experience to journalism as executive editor of NDTV. She has also worked with the Times of India and Economic Times and has been with the NDTV since 1998. She has been instrumental in shaping the network's editorial operations and content across South India for TV and digital platforms. She's a highly respected on-field reporter and analyst. Uma is renowned for her incisive coverage of critical political and social economic developments, often delving beyond headlines to offer in-depth analysis and illuminate underlying issues. She's committed for fearless, fair, and integrity-driven journalism, and this has earned her accolades and prestigious leadership awards. Her documentary films have won critical acclaim at international film festivals. Welcome, ma'am. May I now request our guest of honor, Professor Krishnadev Rao Garu, to kindly come onto the dais. May I request Veerababu Garu, Hyderabad Central University professor, to kindly welcome Krishnadev Rao Garu onto the dais. Professor Krishnadev Rao Garu is a teacher and scholar in criminal law and access to justice, and he's been the Vice Chancellor of Nalsar, Hyderabad from November 2022. He has the distinction of working as the Vice Chancellor of 3 other national universities, the Nalsar, NLU Delhi, and National Law University, Odisha. Professor Rao has received highest award in criminology, Kumarappa Reckless Award, for his outstanding contribution to criminal justice. Professor Rao was the chairman of the Committee for Reforms in Criminal Law, constituted by the Ministry of Home Affairs, Government of India, in 2020 to 22. Welcome, sir. May I, with all due respect, may I now request our chief guest for this evening, Ambassador Venkatesh Verma, onto the stage, please. May I request Shri N. Ramesh Babu Garu, Chairman of Aurora Group of Institutions, to kindly provide a bouquet and felicitate Venkatesh Verma Garu. Ambassador Venkatesh Verma Garu served in the Indian Foreign Service for over 30 years. During his diplomatic career, he worked in the Office of the External Affairs Minister and the Prime Minister's Office. Big round of applause, please. He has also served as India's ambassador to the Conference on Disarmament in Geneva, to the Kingdom of Spain, and to the Russian Federation. May I request you to kindly sit down, sir? He was the first recipient of S.K. Singh Award for Excellence in the Indian Foreign Service. He's currently also a distinguished fellow at the Vision India Foundation, New Delhi, and a visiting professor at various prestigious institutions across the country. And he's also a member of the UN Secretary General's Advisory Board on Disarmament Matters and a member of the National Security Advisory Board of India's National Security Council. Without any ado, may I now request the author of the book, The New World, Dr. Ram Madhav, to kindly come on to the dais. May I invite Shri Nagajyoti, Pro Vice Chancellor of Best Innovation University, to kindly present a bouquet to our author. Dr. Ram Madhav, a very household name for all of us, is an Indian politician, social leader, author, and thinker. He currently serves as the president of India Foundation, New Delhi, and over the past decades, he has curated key national and global initiatives such as the Indian Ocean Conference, the Dharma Dhamma Conference, ASEAN India Youth Summit, and Counterterrorism Conference. He has also played a leading role in conceptualizing the R20 Forum under the India's G20 presidency. Dr. Ram Madhav, a pracharak with the RSS since his childhood, was the National General Secretary of the BJP, overseeing political affairs in Jammu and Kashmir, Assam, and the Northeast. A prolific writer, he has authored several notable works, including The Hindutva Paradigm, Because India Comes First, Partitioned Freedom, and Uneasy Neighbors, and now we have with us The New World. His columns regularly appear in publications like the Indian Express, the Hindustan Times, and the Open magazine. He has also served as the editor of Bharati Pragna and associate director of Jagriti. We welcome you all today for this August gathering. Thank you, sir. We formally begin this program reciting a prayer song, and for this I invite the well-known singer, Miss Nada Priya, to render the opening prayer.
केयूराणि न भूषयन्ति पुरुषं हारान चन्द्रोज्ज्वला न स्नानं न विलेपनं न कुसुमं नालङ्कृता मूर्धजा वाण्येका समलं करोति पुरुषं या संस्कृता धार्यते क्षीयन्ते खलु भूषणानि सततं वाग्भूषणं भूषणम्.
Thank you, Nada Priya Garu. Now may I request Dr. Rupa Vasudevan to kindly introduce the book, The New World, to all of us.
This is an extremely difficult task. Namaskar. A very warm welcome to all the dignitaries on the dais and the distinguished guests and the erudite audience that is present here. We all gather here for the book discussion of The New World. And this is one of the most thought-provoking books of Dr. Ram Madhav. I have read the book, and I don't want to divulge into too much details, but I really want to take you through a little trailer from what I have gathered from the book. We all know that Dr. Madhav's works, generally, in all his books, they depict deep research and seamlessly combines his intellectual depth with visionary thinking and exceptional force in this one. He's always ahead of the curve, and he has a distinct knack of being the first tier conversations, nationally and internationally. Now, he's the very first here also to produce a definitive work on the emerging global world order. Dr. Ram Madhav ji, he takes you through a journey here in 10 chapters, which will redefine the new world, and then deep dives into each chapter that has been, especially for a nation like evolution from Neanderthals. He starts with the Neanderthals, exploration and rise of great powers and international orders they create, the liberal world order that was established by the West about 70 years ago, and the possible form of emerging world order. The rising dragon, the challenge that it poses for United States of America, the decline of multilateralism, and the emergence of heteropolar world. delving into deep tech, the transformative impact of artificial intelligence, especially in the chapter The AI Era. There's a mention of evolution from Homo sapiens to metaspecies, the new world of tech humans engineered to perform to their fullest potential. Yes, of course, there's also a chapter on the challenges posed by demographies and climate change, among others. He also then envisions India's emerging role in the evolving landscape and balance of power within the global system. What Vishwaguru will mean for us and the role of Bharat. How India can leverage and navigate through the new world, especially by paying attention to tech, R&D, and innovation. Therefore, this book makes for a great read for all genres. Now, whether you are a professional, whether you are a tech expert, all the academicians here, to become a case study subject, which should be taught as a part of the higher education system. Without divulging into further details and what awaits for you in the book, in the next 1 hour, let the experts take you through, handhold you through the journey of the very unique, the new world. Thank you all for being there, and we look forward to the discussions today.
Thank you, Rupaji, for those insights into the book. Now it's time that we unveil the book. May I request the dignitaries on the stage to kindly unveil the book. A big round of applause, please. Take back the cup. Thank you, sir. I request that we watch a short video, an audiovisual on the book. AV, please. It's time we leave the dais for the dignitaries, and with this, I leave it to Ma'am Uma for a conversation with the author.
A very good evening to all of you and a very warm welcome. At the outset, I must actually thank Dr. Ram Madhav for writing this book, The New World, 21st Century Order and India, because it brought a lot of order into my head. Because I am sure a few of you at least will empathize with what I'm saying, because in a world where we are also talking about so much of flux and chaos and confusion all the while, and you also, of course, can't dismiss what President Donald Trump does, raising our BP every single day, I guess, with a slew of unexpected announcements that take us by surprise. And by the time we start to comprehend the impact of one, he's announced the next one. And then the next one, you don't even know which direction he's going to be firing. And that is only one of the issues. And then you have, China as a superpower, enigmatic superpower, which is technologically, politically, economically doing so well. And then you wonder, where is India going? Is India going to be that Vishwaguru that ma'am spoke about? Is it wishful thinking on our part, or is it really going to lead us somewhere? Dr. Ram Madhav, of course, has described not just a politician, he's a thinker, he's a philosopher as well, of course, author of several books, and a strategic thinker. And therefore, he gives us that kind of very panoramic and very incisive, insightful kind of idea about the kind of forces that are there that are going to be shaping the 21st century as it comes. And he also places the idea of India there and what India should be doing. He speaks about a few misses, a few things that he thinks that India can do better as well. And let's dive in directly. And I must congratulate saying that the introduction, I love the introduction itself, where you start by writing it as a history of the future. That's the title of the introduction, which is very interesting for the simple reason that, of course, you trace it in a very easy to read, very absorbing manner. That's what I find most captivating about your book. He tells you the history and the great powers that rise and fall and what happened, why it happened, and so on and so forth. But we are going to fast forward all that you will get in the book. But come to 70 years ago, 80 years ago, and he's actually run through it with about 10 trends that he talks about in the 21st century. And these are not just political trends, and that's why it's very interesting. Not just economic trends, not just social trends. He's talking about technology, the way it's going to impact, and that's why I think it makes it all the more, because in today's world, we are all very confused about what happens. So I'm going to go trend-wise so that we are able to comprehensively speak about this. You speak about the decline of the US and the Western world, and you also say that the liberal world order that was established after World War II is actually something that's going, and a new world is emerging. What is the evidence that this is actually going to be dying and something new is going to be emerging?
Thank you, Umaji. Between you and Rupaji, I am afraid that you will disclose the entire book. Then my publisher will be very unhappy, because if everything is disclosed, people don't buy and read.
I can tell you there's a lot more, so many nuggets of information and ideas that make it very fascinating read. I actually did it in one go.
Oh, thank you. And let me also at the outset clarify, I don't have any hardline to Trump. It has nothing to do with what Trump is doing.
Absolutely.
But on a serious note, you see, when India became independent in 1947, one very prophetic speech given by Rishi Aurobindo, it was not remembered by the country, except for a few eminent people. Not many people probably are aware of it also. In that he says that why is India after all becoming independent? Is it just that it doesn't like British rule? He says no, of course British rule should go. That's the first stage. But he describes 5 stages of India's mission as an independent nation. In that he says the final stage is to create a global family and elevate this humanity to a level of a heaven. He had a big vision. It's his five-stage vision. We could not do anything of that sort in the last 70 years, I'm telling you. Reason was we just became independent in 47, a new order was taking shape, we were not in a position to play a role. But today, after 75 years, that order is slowly receding. You see confusion all around. Some may say that it is, kind of an atavistic type of situation, but I see it as a transition happening from old order to new order. When transition happens, in between there could be a lot of confusion. That's what we are seeing. It's a disorder now actually, from order to disorder, moving into another order. When you move into that new order, will India be ready to play a role? If India really wants to play a role, it must understand where is the world going. Our problem is, please don't take me otherwise, at one level, we are very romantic people. We think nothing short of Vishwaguru. Ma'am also talked about Vishwaguru. We don't think anything less than that, where we want to reach. But at the same time, we are so lethargic that we don't know that from here to Vishwaguru, so much travel is involved. For us to understand where is that world going, we should understand first, which I did in 10 important points. I said 10, it can be 11, it can be 12. Scholars can add more points. But I think that these 10 are going to be very important characteristics of the new world.
Actually, you laid out a template which is very nice about how it can be. And you spoke about, the old Cold War era was there, that's gone. And then you have now a US and a China. And is that a new Cold War era that is coming up? That's something that you're looking at. And how is that going to impact a country like India?
Oh, certainly I devoted a full chapter to new Cold War. We have seen, many of the elders here have seen the old Cold War between the Soviet Union and the Western powers. But the new Cold War, which will be taking place between China and USA, we are already witnessing it. It's already happening. But the very big difference here is when the old Cold War was being played out between these two powers, there were no other big powers in the world. It was only Soviet-led grouping and Western-led grouping. These were only two groupings. Rest of us, India, Indonesia, all of us decided we are not any big players. So let us create a non-aligned movement. Neither here nor there movement, I call it. So we created a non-aligned movement. We were happy with that. But today's situation is not like that. We are today ready to stand up and say, you fight. It's your destiny, you fight. But we are not going to be a party to that fight. So there is a huge section of middle powers that is emerging. Those middle powers will play an important role. India will be one of those middle powers. That's why while this Cold War will probably continue for some more decades to come between USA and China, it's not necessary that world will be becoming a bipolar world. Instead, it will be a multipolar world because a lot of middle powers have emerged in the world today.
It's very interesting, this multipolar world that you speak about, because many of these countries are now trying to, or rather you also recommend that you must have regional multilateralism, as you call it, because it's no longer a bipolar world, as you mentioned. Of course, for a little period, with America thinking that it is the one and only, you did have that, it rising as a power. And you also speak about something very interesting, that it's not just state players. It's going to be non-state players as well. And you list not just terrorist organizations. You say it could be religious organizations. It could be multinational corporations, tech giants. And he also speaks about media giants, social media influencers, or social media also can play a role that can actually, are you saying it can threaten the sovereignty of nations and become a global influencer in that sense, in that power play?
Of course. I again, beyond multipolarity, I talked about heteropolarity in one chapter. Slightly new development for all of us. What is today happening is beyond the political states in the world, sovereign states in the world. There are certain entities which have become bigger than sovereign nations. I give you one example. I was in Hungary recently. I attended a conference where keynote was delivered by the Prime Minister of that country, Mr. Viktor Orban. By the way, Viktor Orban is considered one of the very strong leaders in Europe today. But Viktor Orban begins his speech by saying that the biggest threat to my country is, then I thought he will talk about Russia or he will talk about maybe America or somebody. He said biggest threat is coming from George Soros. Now, who is George Soros? Does he have a country? Does he have an army? George Soros is a big investor, honestly speaking. But he can be a threat to sovereign nations today. In India, in my publications, we ad nauseum talk about George Soros, Open Societies Foundation, Ford Foundation, this foundation, that foundation is a threat to us. How come NGOs are a threat to us? But that is the reality. We have entered into a world where NGOs also can be powerful players. Tech can be a powerful player. Elon Musk, who can never become the president of America in his lifetime because American Constitution does not allow somebody who is not born in that country to become the president, unlike India. India may have a restriction, but America doesn't allow. So he will not become the president of America anytime. But he is starting a new political party. What is his background? He is a tech guy. Now he is threatening Trump. That is the kind of world we are entering. Why I am saying is, this is heteropolarity, whom we called as terrorists until yesterday. Taliban, rulers of Afghanistan today, whom we called as ISIS until yesterday, rulers of Syria today. You have to deal with them. Until hitherto our understanding was we only deal with the probably regional sovereign countries. No longer. We have to deal with the big tech giants as important players. I identified 5 of them. By the way, when I say 5, it doesn't mean they are equal.
Yeah.
So somebody asked me, you said multinationals, in the same breath you said terrorists. Are they equal? No. I'm not saying they're equal. But there are 5 different forces that are operational in this new world. Countries have to be prepared to deal with them also. Just one single final line I want to add. India is a very big country. So we don't understand the real threat coming from these countries, these forces. Imagine smaller countries. Countries with 10 million population, 20 million population. Countries in Africa which depend on the US aid with funnels, channels through NGOs. Suppose those NGOs react. What will happen? The big question that the world will be facing in this new order.
The other very interesting international trend that you talk about is after the World War II, we had these agencies like the UN coming up, and you now are saying that there is a perpetual decline of something like that. All of us are seeing it. They are being ineffective in performing the role that they were meant to perform. But in today's world, you also feel that you need agencies like that, some kind of maybe an arbiter who can stop wars, tell people that you are wrong, you're right, and it's not just one person who sits in judgment saying who is right and who is wrong or takes sides. Is it possible to revive these organizations? How do you expect the world to be able to be governed in such a place where you don't have actually global governance?
Okay, so I did speak about it in one chapter, about what is going to happen to these multilateral organizations that we created after the Second World War, starting with Bretton Woods institutions, IMF and World Bank, then United Nations, so many organizations. The last one created was in 1995, it was World Trade Organization. That was the last multilateral organization we created. All these organizations, today's experience is, they are today utterly incompetent, redundant, they are unable to deliver anything that they are intended to deliver. I have, with all due respect, we have a senior ambassador here and an expert of international relations here. They may probably disagree with me. I'm open to that idea of people disagreeing with me. But based on my observation, my view is we need to build a new multilateral order based on which respects regional multilateralism or minilateralism or plurilateralism. This is going to be the new world in which regional powers, regional groupings will decide the future of the entire humanity. So a different kind of multilateralism should come into being. Now, we are very lethargic people. So we say that, no, why do you say that? Why can't we reform UN? Do you know, the reform effort for UN has been 20 years old. Ambassador Verma will agree with me. Not today. We have been saying that. We fought for a seat at the Security Council as a permanent member. Now tell me, there are 5 permanent members at the United Nations Security Council. 5 have veto powers. As a result, Security Council has become an utterly helpless organization because 4 will want something to happen, 5th fellow will veto it. Nothing happens. Now, you also want to become a permanent member. Not we alone. There are 6 others ready to get in. Whenever India gets in, we will also get in. One organization with 5 vetoes could not function. One organization with 10 vetoes can function. This will become more redundant, more helpless. What we actually need to do is to do away with the veto power. Do these countries agree to give up their veto power? Yeah. So I think the present system would not work. This is my view, which I openly said. 47 resolutions happened on Gaza. 47 at the United Nations, or even more. परसों भी एक हो गया. Any impact? Did war stop? Did anybody listen to them? Dozens on Ukraine, Russia. Does anybody care? Ulta. Netanyahu goes to UN every time, gives a full speech of Gali to UN and goes back. You are useless, you are my enemies. He will say all these on UN forum. Finally, our foreign minister in 2023 went and told the UN, 24 I think, 24, he told on the face of UN that reform or be redundant, get redundant. You will become useless. I think that is the situation. I strongly feel that we need to now seriously think about a new kind of multilateralism. I gave a lot of history how this multilateralism came into existence. It had a history. That history does not suit the 21st century.
The other very interesting thing about when you're talking about powers of the world, you're not only referring to geopolitical powers, what ma'am referred to about the power of technology, how it's going to have an impact. One, of course, is all of us can understand that whoever is a superpower in frontier technologies is going to rule the world. But what I found, not even philosophical, actually, or a futuristic eye you're having about how the world, we are not governing actually humans probably in the future, but people who are going to be superhumans in that sense, because they're also powered by technology and they become what you have called as meta-humans at a time when metaverse. Please tell us more about it and why you think that poses new challenges to global power equations.
Okay, so I did take it to a slightly too far, I would say, to give some suggestion that probably the era of Homo sapiens will see an end at some point, and it will be taken over by tech humans or meta-humans, however you want to call it. Now, meta-humans is known to us through Hollywood movies. When those spaceships come from another planet, you see humans with a lot of machines, wires and attached to it. We always thought that it's all fiction. What we thought as fiction 20 years ago is reality today.
Yeah.
So what you call fiction today can be reality 20 years from now. Now, that's where I mentioned, which Rupaji also mentioned earlier, 45,000 years ago, this whole world was full of one human species. They were humans or not. This debate continued until the end of last century. They are called Neanderthals. Their phase ended. Homo neanderthal space was taken over by Homo sapiens. Where are Homo sapiens today?
Yeah.
Why should we think that we are permanent? When somebody was there, from their evolution happened and we came into being, we may go to some other species. That other species is taking shape. Don't take me otherwise. Here there will be many people whose hearts are your hearts, but run by a machine called pacemaker. Some of you must be having that pacemaker. Machine is running your heart. What surprises you to think that tomorrow your powers will be enhanced by machines? It is already happening. I gave number of examples how genetics and AI, they came at the crossroads. This intersection of genetics and AI is creating humans who will be many, many times intelligent and powerful than all of us. Because they are born with new modified genes. Genetic modification or genetic manipulation. So we are entering into an era where, China produced 2 kids, which is against the international norm. So the scientists who produced those kids were arrested for 3 years. But nevertheless, those kids are born. They are there. And they are immune to 72 viruses. Can you imagine? They won't get cough, they won't get cold, they won't get fever, they won't get stomachache, they won't get headache. 72 viruses cannot do anything to them. They are only 3 years old now. How do you know what will be their powers when they become 30? When they become 50? Or will they die at 70 or 80 or 90 like most of us die? This is the kind of world where you do not know the biology of the people, genetic structure of the people. That's the kind of world we are entering. So, bottom line is, would you want that world to continue like that, or you want to stop it? You want humans to remain. You don't want humans to go away. If you want them to remain, you have to think about it. How to stop technology at some level. Can you stop it? Can technology be stopped? So many questions are there in front of us. That is what I discussed in the technology chapter. By the way, what was capital and trade in the previous order? You have capital, you have the ability to trade in your goods in the last century, but in this century, it will be capital and technology. You may have a lot of money, but if you are not good at technology, you will be nowhere. That's the kind of new world we are entering into. Technology is going to be the driving force in the new world.
Okay. Dr. Madhav spoke about India being very caught up with romanticism, and there is a reference to global romanticism and the romanticism that led to, you said, a NAM or a Panchsheel, and now we're talking about Panchamrit is the new thing. And you speak two very important words, dehyphenation and strategic autonomy that you talk about. How is strategic autonomy different from a non-aligned kind of a position? As a journalist, I have to ask this political question, which is...
No, it's a very important, there is a very important difference and distinction there between being non-aligned. What was non-alignment of the 1950s and 60s? It yielded some results. I'm not saying it was a bad thing or it was a wrong thing to do. It suited us at that time because we had limited capacity, limited power at that time. We decided that we will not join any group. Non-aligned countries were those countries which refused to join either of the two blocs at that time. But what was the agenda for these non-aligned countries? There was none. Because when China attacked India, nobody was willing to stand by us. None of the non-aligned countries were ready to stand by us because they were not of the opinion that I should not allow any of these two big powers or any other country to trouble one of my non-aligned members. That was the kind of non-alignment we had. It was a passive international engagement. It was passive. Strategic autonomy is a proactive engagement with everybody. We are not saying that we are neither with you, nor with him. We are saying we are with you also and with him also. It's not either or, it's and also. That is the importance of strategic autonomy. We go by what is our interest and what we see as the global interest. We go by that. That is strategic autonomy. That's why we deal today on equal footing with Russia also and with USA also. With China also, with America also, with Israel also, Palestine also, Iran also, Saudi Arabia also. We deal with them on equal footing on a standalone basis. So that is what I said as the strategic autonomy. I think that is a very pragmatic approach. One has to understand the importance of it. Many people I come across criticize that, India is not doing enough. India is not, why should India walk out from the United Nations when that resolution was being moved? We have to be very pragmatic in this transient world. When world is transiting from one phase to another phase, it should not be too much of romance with ideas. We had done enough of romance with all those things. We have had our experience. Now we have to be very practical. Hindi mein kahawat hai, sher ka poonch nahi pakadna hai. Matlab, never try to catch the tail of a tiger in the hope that you can hold the tiger back. Once you catch it, you can never leave it. Because you will try to catch it. You cannot control it. Tiger cannot be controlled by holding its tail. But you cannot leave it. If you leave it, it will swallow you. So better to stay out of these conflicts. These conflicts are symptoms of certain transition that is happening in the world. Wait, play a role if you can as a peacemaker, but don't be too emotional and too romantic. No, human rights, peace, this, that. Our number aayega, tab karenge. So that's what I said. That's what is strategic autonomy. We decide what is good for us. Yeah. We won't come under pressure from anybody. I think Government of India, what it is doing is very important in that sense, very pragmatic, very autonomous approach. That is the right way in this transitioning new world.
As a television person, when I'm asked to wind up, I have to immediately wind up, but I'll take the liberty here because I have to touch upon 2-3 other things that you've spoken about. One, the demographic dividend for India, that is one aspect. Second one, you speak about a brand Bharat that we want to create. And the third, a very interesting term that you bring to the table is dharmocracy. Not democracy, but dharmocracy the India way, the Bharat way.
Okay, so I gave 10 suggestions to our country what we should do. If we want to be proactive players, we can remain like how we remained outside of it in 1940s and 1950s. The world will still change. We'll still be players in that. But if we really want to give some contribution to that new world, we have to do 10 things. Firstly, I said, first of all, get out of this romanticism, be pragmatic, be realistic about it. But The last thing I talked about is what you said. You have to build a brand for yourself. I called it building brand Bharat. In that, democracy will be that brand. You will give a new political idea. Do you know the last political idea that India contributed to the world was Gandhi's Ahimsa and Satyagraha? That peace and non-violence and truthful resistance was the last major idea we contributed. Political idea we contributed to the world. And mark me, after we followed that path and secured independence, close to 60 countries followed that path. We know about Nelson Mandela. But many countries gave up a revolutionary path and adopted peaceful resistance and managed to secure independence. So that was one original idea we contributed. But that was 100 years old or 70 years old. What is it that you offer to this new world? Give that new idea of democracy, which I call as democracy, which is people-centric. We have to be able to give that kind of a value system to the world, but that is number 10 point, remember. Yeah. To reach there, you have to do 9 other things. Starting with giving up romanticism and becoming practical. From there, you have to build a strong economy in this country. Nobody is going to respect a poor country. Although we are today not a poor country anymore. Today we are a $4 trillion economic country, world's 4th or 5th. But even that won't be sufficient. India should aim for anything not less than 10 trillion. Even at 10 trillion, our per capita will be only $6,500. China's today's per capita is close to $12,500. So we have to travel that route. We have to focus on economy. We have to do a lot of R&D. Dr. Rupa was mentioning about academics. My only appeal to academics is invest on R&D. Don't only invest on buildings and getting more students. Our investment on R&D is very, very negligible. Our investment on R&D is less than 1% in our country, less than 1% of our GDP. But do you know how much China spends? 6.5% of their GDP. US spends 4% of its GDP on R&D. Now when I say, you may say they are 6, America is 4, and we are 1, assuming. It's a wrong understanding. We are 1% of our GDP, but they are 6% of their GDP. Meaning, China is spending 25 times more than us on R&D. India has to become a strong R&D base, what we call innovation. Most of it is imitation. We call it innovation, but most of it is. There are good innovations. Fintech is a major success story. So India has to tread all these 10 points before it reaches the stage where it can build a brand Bharat. You know, last world order was built by the Americans. But before building that, before reaching the stage, America had a journey of 30-40 years, which I described in my book. How America could reach a stage where it could guide the world. Today, China is rising. It is hoping to guide the world. India has to rise to that level. One small point I add, because you mentioned about demographic dividend. Remember, demography will be a dividend if you manage it correctly. Otherwise, it will be a liability to you. We have to manage this demography carefully. You need to create jobs. You need to give good education. You need to give good direction to them. Then only it is a dividend. Otherwise, it is a headache. So India has to think about all these aspects. There are going to be serious issues. Today, they look very small issues for us. I described how they are going to be very serious issues. And I think India has to prepare itself in all these fronts before it can even imagine to become Vishwaguru or build a brand Bharat. But let me conclude by going back to what Aurobindo said. Aurobindo, after giving these 5 points, what is India's mission, the last line he says is, it is our destiny. ये विधि का विधान है कि भारत को ये करना है. It is the destiny of, destiny means it is a God-given responsibility. You have to do it. But do it means again, भगवान का हमने संतान है, romance से नहीं चलेगा, करना पड़ेगा. So that is what I tried to highlight in the second small part as 10 points that India has to do.
So I've again been told that time is up. Otherwise, there are so many other aspects of this book that are very exciting to discuss. When he speaks about brand Bharat, he says go from being a soft power to being a smart power. Thank you so much. Pleasure talking to you as always. And thank you for writing this book as well, which actually gives this perspective to an India that is now wondering where it should go. So that roadmap very humbly you say some additions can be there, some changes can be there, but yes, a template has been set. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for a really engaging conversation. You've brought out a lot of important aspects of the book.
Thank you.
Now, may I request our guest of honor, Professor Krishna Deva Rao Garu, Vice Chancellor, Nalsa University, to kindly deliver his address.
Shri Madhav ji, the author of the book, strategic thinker, philosopher, and ideologue. Once you read this book, you will see how he discusses, analyzes in a difficult terrain, which is generally economists will write, international relations experts will write, technologists write, but it in one view. Ambassador Venkatesh Verma ji, Uma Sudhir, Rupa Vasudevan, Ramchandra Rao Garu, BJP President, and distinguished invitees. I appreciate and congratulate Forum for Nationalist Thinkers and Best Innovation University, Rupa, for organizing this debate. This is very essential. I think that's where we could see the futuristic new world order, futuristic vision of the new world order, Ram Madhav ji attempts to articulate in a very finest, simple language. Thanks. Last 3 days, first time I think after more than a year, I had a pleasure in reading this book from the first page to last page. Let me just highlight, that's what Uma Sudhir and Ram Madhav also mentioned, that's in the second part, Reimagining India. In the 12th chapter, the line roars loud and clear, page 248. I think that's a very interesting how he looks at where he gets the roots of this futuristic vision. Ram Madhav ji starts with Jawaharlal Nehru tryst with destiny, 14th August speech, and then goes to how Aurobindo, 5 dreams, that's what I think you have looked at. I think that's the beginning of the roadway. He starts with that both and then explains, goes in. So let me just, I think this is possible because of Ram Madhav's involvement over 3 decades in Indian politics. A keen observer, learner, and writer. I think that gives him a easy terrain to articulate and write about is the new theory. The book consists of 2 parts. I think already Rupa and Uma has mentioned about some of these, but the book consists of 2 parts. First part reviews 70-year-old world order, and the second part is about reimagining India with 3 chapters. That's the second part tries to explain the new world order. The book addresses shifting dynamics of post-Cold War, post-pandemic, post-unipolar world. What I could see, the unique feature of this identifying multiple factors and reasons for this rethinking the new world order, particularly from the Indian point of view, which explains about brand Bharat. And this based on several reasons like international relations, particularly economics, several growing impact of whether it's in the first chapter, he looks at Western power. All of us, we have seen from how the bipolar world moved into unipolar world after the disintegration of USSR in 1990s. So he explains in the first chapter. Second chapter is again very interesting. Ram Madhav explained about this, how the rise of China taking over and the Deng Xiaoping when he comes up. That's what he said, romanticism both in the Nehruvian era and even in the China also during the Mao's era of cultural revolution, but when they are United States. So that's where he goes into the collapse in 1990s, China rise, challenging American power. And here I'll take to the Second World War. What we have seen is United Nations has become irrelevant, mute spectator, and failed to prevent several wars. We can give how the 5 big nations have exercised the veto power, and Security Council has become just a paperless tiger. That's the, critical thinkers have started, theorists have, political scientists and several others have said, we need to think about alternative United Nations. Can we think about another United Nations which will work for all the people, particularly the global south? Here, best example, what we could see, WTO dispute resolution mechanism has completely stopped since December 2019 because United States refused to ratify the appointment of new appellate body. I think the book explains, and then practice also, history tells, 600 bilateral regional trade agreements have been notified and they could not start anything because the appellate body has not started functioning. So emergence of multipolarity, he explained about emergence of artificial intelligence. I think here I'll spend 2 minutes. I think that's where what we have seen, the technology, responsible ethical AI started emerging, particularly as a student of law and a teacher in law. What I would say that artificial intelligence is going to really be game changer in the law and justice, and we have seen pendency, backlogs, and how the alternative dispute resolution system also could not work. What we have seen in the Anglo-Saxon legology, and we need complete, is a massive education training is required. The American Association of Legal Education 10 years ago has already forecasted law, technology, and management and accountancy. I think that's the future. I think all lawyers, judges, legal educators, and the law firms must have to learn. These are the four are coming together, and that's where we could see, particularly in the law and justice, the responsible AI, ethical AI, along with that also data privacy concerns are coming there. I also mentioned about climate change, emergence of cryptocurrency, rise of. I'll just end with two important observations. I think in the page 26 he mentions about. Second part is about the 10 important issues. First, the book Ram Madhav highlights about 10 critical issues, and then he mentions about what are the things and issues and thematic issues which enable in India shaping the new world order already that have been discussed. To conclude, I'll say in the end, he mentions in page 20, I think that's for me, I thought a very inspirational ideas he shares in the end of page 20 in the chapter 1. I quote, in the end, author at page 20 observes that when life-changing transformation happened all over the world, there were philosophers with a balanced vision and comprehension to guide the humanity. We had Jesus Christ, who questioned Romans and their brutal rule. We had Martin Luther King, John Calvin, who challenged the Semitic religious order and which has ushered in the era of Reformation. We also had later Voltaire, Montesquieu, David Hume, and John Locke, who led the humanity through the era of enlightenment. There was also a legendary Karl Marx who stood up and raised disturbing questions during Industrial Revolution in the Europe. Martin Luther King and Mahatma Gandhi have also intervened in shaping the current world order in the last century. Here comes a memorable observations by Ram Madhav ji. But sadly, what happened in the contemporary globalization, new order, articulation of the thinking? Ram Madhav says, no philosopher appear in the horizon when we think about significance of upgrade of humanity's existing order. Who are now articulating? He says, we have left it to these politicians, technocrats, scientists, and most importantly, big tech and multinational corporations. This is really a sad state of affairs. However, Ram Madhav in the book attempts to theorize and articulate some ideas and thoughts in developing the new world order. I think I'll close here, and this is a wonderful book. I think all of you must read, and in a very simple way, he articulates about both the history of more than 75 years and the world history and how we have to move and what are the future points and roadmap. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share few thoughts and ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the comprehensive view on the book. May I now request our chief guest for this evening, Ambassador Venkatesh Verma, former Ambassador of India to Russia, to kindly deliver his address.
Good evening and namaskar. Shri Dr. Ram Madhav Garu, Professor Sri Krishna Rao Garu, Srimati Uma Sudhir, Dr. Rupa Vasudevan. It is, of course, a great pleasure to be present in this hall for this very auspicious occasion. But let me start with a story. I was in the US, in New York, last month, and I was sleeping in my hotel room when my phone rang, my mobile phone, at 2:30 in the morning. And we all know the slight tension, the concern that we have when the phone rings in the morning unexpectedly. I looked at the phone. It was our president of the BJP state party, Dr. Ramchandra Rao Garu, calling up to saying, Verma Garu, mere ekkunnaru. We want to organize a function for Dr. Ram Madhav Garu. So I said, sir, I am in US. We can look for dates in July. So I'm very happy that you took the initiative and for this very auspicious function. And after that, Dr. Vasudevan. I think the great advantage of speaking after listening to Dr. Ram Madhav Garu is like a teacher's explanation of the notes that he has given in class. So the thing becomes doubly clear. I have read the book already twice, but I think listening to Dr. Ram Madhav in response to Uma's questions, I think the value of the book is therefore doubly appreciated because of clarity of what the ideas are. Dr. Ram Madhav Garu, of course, is a well-known, multifaceted personality. He's a very active person. He's a prolific. But I think this book takes the engagement on foreign policy to a higher level. I'll tell you why. As an analyst, Ram Madhav Garu is widely read in the country. Every week we all look forward to Ram Rajya column in the Indian Express, and so do thousands of his fans. He is not just an analyst. He is also a practitioner. Through the India Foundation, he is active in very many respects. Many platforms as an active participant in international diplomatic activity, many major international conferences, and I myself have run into him in 2-3 places, but he attends far more international conferences than I. But he's very active. So in all this, one wonders, where does he get the time to write a full-fledged, outstanding book? Being an analyst or a practitioner requires a certain set of skills. It's like a painter sitting on the beach. You ask the painter to paint what he sees, he or she sees. The painter will pick one wave or two waves and try to capture that in the painting. But Dr. Madhav Garu is like a painter painting a dynamic and turbulent ocean where you're supposed to capture not just the individual waves, but the changing tides. And I think this book has captured that. So each of the chapters is a wave, and I think if you read the whole book, you see the tide changing, and there's a very good description of the tide changing of this new world as we enter into the 21st century. So to do so, I think he is not just an analyst, he is not just a practitioner, but he's got the depth of a historian, along with the foresight of a strategic expert. And I think all these qualities come together in the production of this book. Analyzing global changes with an eye to future trends is not easy. This is not an easy book to write. A remarkable aspect of this book is its comprehensive scope. It almost starts in antiquity. I mean, the big trends of various people, various religions is woven into the account almost right from the beginning. The range of topics taken up are very broad-ranging. And we've had a description of that by the previous speakers, the so-called decline of Western powers. I think if you read the book, I think the treatment of this subject is a little more sophisticated than seen elsewhere. I think it is easy to write off Europe or the United States as being captured in the trend of decline of, but they are such big powers that even the decline will take many decades. So I think we should not make the mistake of writing off prematurely what already exists. I think the objective trend is towards a change and a decline. I think to write them off very quickly, I think would be a mistake. And that I think that point of caution is embedded in your chapter on the United States. Similarly, the rise of China, there's no doubt it's been a spectacular rise. In many, many instances, the rise of China is a fact of life. And instead of either sort of succumbing to the inevitability of Chinese domination, which we should not do, or seek false hopes or false security and confidence in downplaying the China rise. I think both would be a mistake. The conflict between US and China, I think, is very well described in the book, but I think with reference to the Thucydides trap, which is it talks about the inevitability of conflict between a rising power and an established power. But I think Dr. Ramadhav's book also points to the fact that there is also cooperation between them, which could lead to a sort of arrangement between the United States and China. There is also a very good chapter on rising powers, India foremost among them. But there are other rising powers, middle powers. And there is a chapter on the power brokers of multipolarity. I think it's a very instructive part of the book. And the sophistication of that chapter, I think, is quite an extremely good value addition to the debate in the country. Because I think our debate tends to shift one way or the other. We draw easy conclusions, but I think the complexity of the situation, I think Dr. Madhav Garu has captured it very well. The decline of global multilateralism, that was being spoken to, the decline of the UN, ineffectiveness of the UN, its substitution by other powers, the rise of big companies, but big technology companies, I think has been spoken about. And their enormity, I think, has to be grasped. It's not easy to grasp. We are a $4 trillion economy. NVIDIA's market capitalization today is $4 trillion. Our defense budget is approximately about $80 billion. The R&D budget of Amazon is $80 billion. The rise of new and emerging technologies, I think the chapter is extremely well written. And the impact of AI, quantum, biotechnology, genetic engineering. I think the consequences are very, very far-reaching. The main issues and includes comments from other scholars which deepen the analysis. In each of the chapters, the author has taken pains to analyze developments and how this would impact on India. I would say my favorite chapters are the deep analysis of multipolarity, that is, driving Prime Minister Modi's Suraksha. And individually, every country has one or two of these combinations. A great power, only a great power will have a combination of all five. Great power will have a combination of all five. That I think is what Prime Minister calls that should be considered. But we should always remember that an aggressive nuclear policy has not yet paid dividends for countries which have a first use policy, like the United States or Russia. They still struggle with how they use their conventional forces. This is the first point I want to make. The second point, how do we manage our relations with the West? The United States is clearly showing that challenges to its unipolar power will be met with more unilateralism. Challenge to American unipolarity is responded with more unilateralism. Accommodate or challenge this trend is not an easy question to. One early test will be the bilateral trade agreement with the US, which will come up soon. Similarly, how deep do we integrate our economies with the West, US, UK and EU? In our regional integration, closer home is less developed. How do we balance our technological dependence on Western companies without sacrificing our own national capabilities? And given the large Indian diaspora, the emerging risks of growing anti-immigrant sentiment that is rising in the West, how do we deal with this issue? Also, how do we emerge from the dominance of Western concepts and thinking, even as the dominance of the West declines time? So the dominance of the West is not only in material terms, it's also in intangible terms, in conceptual terms, and how do we emerge from that? The third is the rise of China. The power gap between India and China will increase in the coming decade as India sees itself rises to become the third largest economy in the world, but way behind US and China. In the rebalancing of global economic relations, how do we manage the challenges of conflict between US and China, but also the possibility of a G2 partnership? Maintaining the momentum of economic growth at 8%, not at 6.5% at where we presently are, would involve climbing the ladder of technological innovation which in my view is the biggest impediments to India's rise as a big power. And I would recommend all of you to look at the technology chapter in Dr. Madhav's book, where there is a very good description of our strengths, but also more importantly, our weaknesses, which need to be addressed. But I must say, in the last 4 years, Prime Minister has taken a lot of interest in this dimension. And the technology missions in AI, in quantum, in semiconductors, in biotechnology, a lot of them have made progress. But the fact of the matter is, we seem to have started only in 2020. We didn't start in 2010, we didn't start in 2000, definitely we didn't start in the year 1990. So we are in a sense in technological case against US or China, we are a catch-up country. We may have some advantages of a catch-up country, but I think we also are a little distance away from where we want to be. Fourth, our own neighborhood. For a variety of reasons, despite our best efforts, our neighborhood policy has not yielded the desired results. I say this not as a criticism, but as a statement of fact. Partly due to the rise of Chinese and US influence at the expense of our own. Can India become a global power if we are isolated in our own region? Dr. Madhav mentions in his book that with our civilizational cousins, this is a very nice phrase, the Mandela theory has not worked to our advantage. Fifth, on the balance between material and spiritual aspects. I think this is very important. What differentiates any country from a great country is the interlinkage between material and spiritual aspects of its national identity and development. As India rises, finding the right balance between power and purpose will become even more significant. India as a civilizational state doesn't see power as an end in itself. Power, particularly state power, is necessary to protect and nurture our culture and civilizational values, which is integral to our national values and identity. Our identity is civilizational and cultural. We require states to protect that identity. As India rises, it will be a unique rise, not copying how the West rose or how China became a big power. What is the distinct pathway? More thought needs to be given to a comprehensive view of India's strategic autonomy that secures India's material basis for its rise as a great power, but also endows it with specific purpose rooted in India's rich civilizational ethos. Swaraj in all its aspects, material and spiritual. In dealing with these 5 questions, Dr. Madhav's book provides ample food for thought and therefore should be studied and read by specialists and general readers alike. In the past decade, India has been set on the path to its rise in the coming decades, but challenges persist. If we are determined and focused to do what is in the best interest of India, Rashtriya Hit, we will make India's rise as a great power from a possibility to an inevitability. In Shri Madhav's words, for brand India, we need both Chitti and Virat, the awakening of the inner soul of the nation. In closing, let me congratulate Dr. Madhavji for his excellent contribution to the national debate on India's role in the 21st century. I would like to thank the organizers for putting this event. So events like this will actually help in providing a foreign policy profile to Hyderabad, I think, which is something that we should all welcome. So thank you very much for this.
Thank you, sir, for a well laid out, thoughtful and encouraging remarks on the book. May I now invite our author for this evening, Dr. Madhav, President, India Foundation, to kindly address you all.
Namaskar ji. I'm already very worried that too much has been already said about my book. I'm not going to talk anything more about the book except, of course, to thank Rupaji, Umaji, and of course our two distinguished speakers, Ambassador and Professor, for giving you a flavor of what is there in this book. My colleagues once asked me, I spent not much time on this book. I have been thinking about these issues, writing about it. I have been speaking about these issues over last few years. In fact, Rupaji's university hosted a very important conference in Visakhapatnam where vice chancellors and academics from all over the country were there. There I spoke. That was the time when this idea triggered in my mind that how long can we confine ourselves to micro issues? When do we start thinking about the macro picture? That's how I started thinking about it. It developed into a book. I spent some time on this book and I missed my deadline because in between party assigned me the role of Prabhari for Jammu and Kashmir elections. So I lost two and a half months in that and came back. Then I had to first of all read the previous script because I lost that flow. Managed to complete it and I'm happy that it came out at a very appropriate time. To which Umaji referred. She indicated that, Trump is doing all this. At that time, exactly this book came out. There was no conspiracy, no contact with Trump. But it so happened that this book got delayed and finally came out at a very appropriate time and sales are good. The book is selling well. Thanks to Trump also partly. But the bigger question I was asked was, why are you writing all this? Being a Sangha man, being a BJP man, you should be writing about your ideology, Hindutva, or other things. Let me tell you that I have written about all those things in the past. I have written about, as Ambassador Sir said, I have written about China challenge. I have written very recently about partition. My thesis for my PhD was on Hindutva. I published a 400-page book, Hindutva Paradigm. I have done all that. Not that I am not very focused on those issues. They are very important issues. But please remember, this is my earnest appeal to all of you, that countries that became big in the world, don't think that they did not have this kind of problems in those countries at that time. When America was rising as a big economic military power in the world, internally it was having huge conflicts. It had one Martin Luther King to sacrifice his life. It had one John F. Kennedy to sacrifice his life. They were both killed in that country, murdered in that country. But by that time, their focus had led to US rising as a strong power in the world. So is the case with China. China was having so many internal problems. In fact, Mao had left such a wretched legacy for Deng Xiaoping. But Deng said, yes, I will tackle these problems, but I have a bigger picture in front of me. In 20 years, I have to take this country somewhere. So let me tackle my domestic issues, let me bother about them, but let me not lose sight of my bigger picture. In 20 years, he transformed that country. In fact, Communist Party asks him this question. Why are you doing all this which is generally understood as capitalism? Why are you asking American, European companies to come and build airports and ports in your country? It is following a capitalist model. Deng's reply was, I don't care about the color of the cat as long as it is catching the mice. ఎలకల్ని పట్టుకుంటున్నంత వరకు నాకు పిల్లి రంగుతో పనేంటి. This was brutal pragmatism. But he was not focused on his ideology. He was very much focused on its ideology. When somebody asked in a Politburo meeting to Deng that, you are bringing all these capitalist countries into China, what will happen tomorrow? What will happen to your ideology? He says, what will happen? Whenever I think that they are a threat to my ideology or my country's, its identity, I will throw them out. They have to go pack their bags and go away from my country, but they can't carry their airports and ports with them. They are mine. This is the visionary approach. So while we have to bother about so many issues that we face, confront on a day-to-day basis, they are all important issues. There have to be some kind of a consensus on where we have to reach, what we have to do. In that spirit, I tried to write this book, that how you want India to be seen in the 21st century new world. That a new world order is taking shape is not my philosophy or not my theory. Many have spoken about it. Many are talking about it. What I just tried to do was, from an Indian vantage point, how does that new world look like? What are the characteristics that you have to deal with in that new world? And also, let me just clarify, the Ambassador Sir has clarified, when I said decline of the West, I didn't say, in fact I explicitly said, it doesn't mean America will disappear. It doesn't mean Europe will disappear. They will be there. They will be powerful entities in the world, but not as powerful as they had been in the past. That's why the chapter is called West into Slow Afternoon. I'm not saying that countries will disappear, but there is an opportunity available for India. As I said in my conversation with Umaji, this opportunity we have to grab it. For us to grab it, we have to understand the big picture. You cannot always be stuck in only local issues. Local issues, you handle it. Whether it is Pakistan or other things, handle it, but with a view to where you have to go. So the idea was that some of the people, at least in this country, should start thinking about that big picture, especially the leadership. Today is seized of that big picture. Today, at least there is a Prime Minister who thinks about Viksit Bharat by 2047. But what is that Viksit Bharat? How to reach there? What will be the world you see in 2047? All that we have to think seriously and prepare the country. Countries with that kind of a big vision can only really rise. So the effort is not to discount day-to-day issues that are in front of us, but to try and project a bigger issue, a larger picture, a big picture in front of all of us. That's why I said, we think that we have achieved so much, which we did. But what we achieved is just following the curve. But can you go ahead of the curve? Leaders will be ahead of the curve. Leaders don't follow. Another matter, as the Ambassador Sir said, yes, we are trying to catch up today. In technology, we are trying to catch up. We are trying to catch up in AI, quantum. These are the defining things in future. We are trying to catch up. But will you just remain catching up, or will you be ahead of the curve? For going ahead of the curve, people like Shri should think seriously. They were at one time took this country ahead of the curve. I remind, 1990s, when there was an opportunity given by the liberalization of Dr. Manmohan Singh and P.V. Narasimha Rao, suddenly some people seized that opportunity and took country ahead of the curve. And we became the IT leaders in the world. But today, where are we? When the next curve is coming, are we ready to go ahead of it? That is where people have to think, entrepreneurs have to think. I said in my book also that this solution, this whole approach, it has to be whole of the country approach. It cannot be just Modi ji's approach alone. Modi ji is striving, Modi ji is working hard, but are states working on the same lines? Are industries working on the same lines? Are academic institutions working on the same lines? There it is slightly worrying scenario. I thought probably I should try and see if we can be alerted by that. I will be happy if more and more people read this book. Obviously, my publisher also will be happy. So let me, while concluding, take it to a lighter level. I was a little serious about some of these comments. Please don't take me otherwise. It's just my passion, I said it. I have got a private library, my personal library. దాంట్లో 4,000 పుస్తకాలు ఉన్నాయి. ఇక్కడ హైదరాబాద్లో ఉన్నప్పుడు కూడా బయట కూడా నా లైబ్రరీలో నేను ఒక బోర్డు పెట్టేవాడిని. ఈ గ్రంథాలయంలోని పుస్తకాలు ఇంటికి తీసుకెళ్లి చదివి ఇస్తామని దయచేసి అడగండి, ఎందుకంటే ఇవన్నీ అలా సంపాదించినవే. ఇంగ్లీష్లో సేయింగ్ ఉంది, వన్ హూ లెండ్స్ ఎ బుక్ ఈజ్ ఎ ఫూల్, వన్ హూ రిటర్న్స్ ఇట్ ఈజ్ ఎ సూపర్ ఫూల్. So my appeal to all of you is don't depend on borrowings and lendings, buy and read it. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, sir, for a very heartful, enriching, and if I may, an instigating address. And I'm sure a lot of our audience will buy books and read them, after hearing you today. Now we have a few minutes for Q&A from the audience. May I request you to kindly raise your hands? You will have the mic coming to you. Please introduce yourself and...
I'm to your right.
yeah.
My name is Satyakiran. I'm a professor. Sir, you've been at your articulate best. My question is, there is hardly a conference that does not figure a conversation about AI. There is a gentleman in Silicon Valley called Ray Kurzweil, who's propounded a theory called singularity, which says that by 2045, the aggregate artificial intelligence in the world will go past the human intelligence, and that's when we will enter into a very uncertain territory. Now, I think that we are facing a twofold problem. You talk about demographic dividend, 75 crore Indians are on the age of 35, but then this window will be existing for the next 15, 16 years only, and then we will go down. My pointed question is, what should be our approach towards adopting AI? We should not be neo-Luddites, but having said that, the implications of adopting AI in a big way will have major impact on our employment in India. And considering the fact that last 30 years, the employment was driven by IT industry, I wonder what will happen if we were to...
Yes, so firstly I agree with you. AI, which form it will take, is very hard to predict at this point. Because AI is now upgrading to what is called AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. We are giving all these names. It's actually machine intelligence at the bottom of it. It's no longer artificial because it's more intelligent than all of us. It is intelligent than humans. So we are actually entering into a phase where you have intelligent machines deciding about the fate of humans. We are buying aircraft from other countries. By the time those aircrafts are delivered, the aircraft, I'm talking about the defense aircraft. Defense aircraft usage will become redundant. You won't use aircraft, you will use missiles, you will use drones. So that is where this whole technology is progressing, and we only know about unmanned drones today. But the AGI is reaching a level where uncontrolled drones, even an unmanned drone is controlled by somebody sitting in a control room. He controls it. But with the AGI, what will happen is nobody needs to control it. You only have to give a command. You go and kill Ram Madhav. That is the command you give. Who is Ram Madhav? It knows because it has that general intelligence. Where is he? He knows. Using my mobile location, it knows where is he. Then it will come and release a weapon on me. That is where we are going. The only challenge is when there is a fellow controlling that weapon, that drone, he at least knows, no, we should not attack Ram Madhav here because there are 500 people in this hall, they will also suffer. Let's not do it, we will find him alone, then we will do it. But AGI may not think about that because there is no human intervention. We are moving towards that dangerous arena. So what will happen, we can't say. It will impact jobs. It is predicted that 30% of the jobs will go. By the way, the jobs that go, majority of them will be those of women. Like you don't need any receptionist anymore. You don't need any such service, human services areas where women are employed. Ordinary, less skilled people are employed, even skilled people also, middle level, low level skilled people are employed. All those people will lose jobs because all that will be done by machines. You know, we are moving to a stage where even codes will be written by AI. You don't even need code writers. What will you do with your engineers that you are producing? So we are heading to that level. So what immediate requirement every country realizes is that you have to reskill and upskill your people. You have to reskill them. And you have to upskill them. That's an immediate requirement. But that is not going to suffice. You have to build a huge AI infrastructure in the country. Huge. Quantum infrastructure, AI infrastructure. It's a big topic. I wrote about it a little bit, but be careful that we are entering into an era where most of, in 1980s, I read a very interesting article. The article's title was The World Without Workers. The world doesn't need workers. Because all works will be done by machines. Then what do you do with people? Then that guy gives a solution. He says, गवर्नमेंट का सारा काम लोगों को दे दो, म्युनिसिपैलिटी की जरूरत नहीं है, रोड साफ करने का काम लोग कर लेंगे, कपड़ा धोने का काम लोग कर लेंगे, नो अदर वर्क, पीपल को शेयर कर दो तो इतना दिन कर. So we will be heading towards that kind of a scenario. We have to be very careful about the way AI and machine learning area is progressing.
A brief question, sir.
Stood by UGC to draft syllabus for national security studies, sir. First time in the independent India it happened. So I take this opportunity to thank the organizers and question to you, sir. To me, sir, as I understand China and America, I'm a PhD from JNU, International Relations. The manufacturing space, the cyberspace, the maritime space, the political space, and the service sector space, these 5 Panchabhutas will have to be protected from the United States of America and also from the Communist Party-led China for a strategic, autonomous, independent foreign policy to emerge. This is the vision for 2047, sir. And my question to you, sir, Bharat, building a harmonious but audacious Raj to advance trade, technology, tourism, talent, and to decimate terrorism is also part of the Viksit Bharat in the days to come, sir. To achieve this particular book written by you is a wonderful eye-opener for many youngsters in the country, because for 2047 is the goal. And this is my comment, sir. My question is, how do you connect the dots in a multipolar world? Going by the trust with destiny, Bharat can only do that. What is your take? Because you have done a lot of, you came from the bottom up approach, sir. You are not.
Oh, I got it. Yes, my answer costs only 695 rupees. My book cost.
Sir, can you take the mic, sir? Sir, can you take the mic? Very
Briefly, sir. Request.
Sir, I'm Sudhakar Gande. I was earlier Senior Director, American Express Bank on investment banking. I also built a tech company which grown from $1 million to $100 million in 10 years. I've gone through the process, called Access Catalyst Technologies. Sir, my question to you is, China. Well, I've been to China several times on the business. In every meeting, sir, everybody speaks interpreters. Nobody speaks the language. So my question to you in China is political. Is the system what they have? Several governments, the province, etc. Will the political system one day will break, like Russia? And that is very important to India, because I had a guy who was an Australian, spent almost 30 years in China. And he said, some of the inside China nobody understands except them. So my question to you, sir, is there any political possibility of breakup or instability in China, the impact on India? Thank you.
मैं तो एस्ट्रोलॉजर नहीं हूँ. I can't predict what will happen. I can only alert you to, be careful about a new university nowadays called the WhatsApp University. Every second month you see Xi Jinping falling and military taking over and etc. Very stable system they have. They have engineered it in such a way. What will happen to that system? I remember 1996. Span एक magazine होता था. I don't know if it is no longer there. Span had a cover story talking about 96, the impending collapse of China. This was 96, the great American dream that China will collapse. What actually happening in 2026 is America is collapsing. So don't predict. Be prepared to face these countries. They are very strong. You see, strong countries just don't collapse like a pack of cards. Even if there are changes, they will happen in a very gradual manner. There may be changes, we all want those things to happen, but today's China is definitely a big challenge. Countries can rise. We are not against countries becoming prosperous, countries becoming powerful. But when an America rises, we don't get sleepless nights. మనకి భయం అయింది అమెరికా రైజ్ అవుతుంటే. Why are we scared of China rising? Because China's rise is not just an economic rise, not just a technological rise, it's a rise of a worldview, which is very dominant. I discussed it in my previous book, but a little bit discussion happened in this book also. They have this theory of middle power. They will be the center, they will be the pivot of the world. The whole world should revolve around them. They have a particular view. That is why we are scared, not because we have anything against people of China. They are like people of any other country. But certain countries bring certain civilizational values. That is where China poses a major threat to many things that we believed. Democracy, freedoms, political rights, values. None of these things will be respected in that order. So that is the kind of China it is there. We have to be prepared for the eventual, and we are already facing that eventual rise of it. We have to be prepared for it. When changes happen, let's see, let's welcome it.
Just one last question. We're really running out of time. I know a lot of...
Namaste, Ramadhuji. I've been your fan for the last so many years. I'm Alipuram Venkateswara Reddy, Export Chairman, Telangana. Sir, you have been think tank of the BJP and RSS for the last 30 years. I'm your keen observer.
Sir, may I request you briefly just a question?
Yeah, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, you have been serving the country through India Foundation also. Sir, can I expect Ramadhoji to directly come into the Indian cabinet as a central minister to serve the country? It's my aim and my ambition for the last so many years. You have been serving the country indirectly, but I want to see you as a cabinet minister in the Indian government.
Yes, in Venkateswara Reddy's cabinet.
What?
In Venkateswara Reddy's cabinet.
Sir, one more, my question is, can we expect Narendra Modi ji to serve the country for few more 10 to 15 years to become India Viksit Bharat?
Question का है मेरा बाप कब मर जाएगा ऐसा पूछते हैं क्या? He is our prime minister. He is the most successful prime minister, most respected leader, not only in the country, in the whole world. He has to serve the country. He will serve the country.
Thank you.
We conclude the questions. I'm extremely sorry I would not be able to take any more questions. We're running out of time. Before I let you all go, we have two more things to do. I request on behalf of the organizers for all of you to join me in felicitating our dignitaries on the stage. May I request that our author is felicitated first. May I request Prajyot Arora, Vice Chairman of Arora Group of Institutions, to kindly felicitate our author. Big round of applause, please. May I call Chandrasekhar Garu, Joint Secretary, Pragna Bharati, to kindly felicitate Ambassador Venkatesh Verma Garu. May I call May I request Dr. Maitri Shinde to kindly come onto the dais to felicitate Professor Krishnadev Rao Garu. May I request Dr. Vyoma from the Forum of Nationalistic Thinkers to kindly felicitate Dr. Uma. May I request Dr. Geeta Chowdhury Garu, Professor, former of OU, to kindly felicitate Dr. Rupa Garu. Conclude this program, I invite Professor Krishna Reddy Garu, Professor Economics, Hyderabad Central University, to kindly propose the vote of thanks on behalf of the organizers.
What a fantastic evening. So with the practical to powerful ideas loaded in all our minds. It's a great, wonderful evening with all of the intellectual gathering. It's my pleasure and honor on behalf of the Forum for Nationalist Thinkers and Best Innovation University, I would like to propose vote of thanks for the successful launch of Shri Madhav ji book, The New World, 21st Century, Global Order and India. Distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, fellow intellectuals, it's our privilege to express heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed to success of this event. We thank Shri Madhav ji for sharing his profound insights and perspectives through his book, which promises to enrich national discourse. Thank you, Madhav ji. We are honored in the presence of our chief guest, Venkatesh Verma ji, IFS, and our guest of honors, Professor Krishna Deva Rao ji and Srimati Uma Sudhir ji, whose expertise and experiences have significantly enhanced our understanding of complex issues discussed today. We also extend our sincere appreciation to Dr. Rupa Vasudevan for helping and encouraging and engaging discussion, and also to all attendees, we thank you for your active participation and enthusiasm which has made this event truly special. We also would like to express our special thanks to Shri Ramesh Babu Garu, the chairman of the Aurora Group, for his support and encouragement. His presence has added value to this event. We are grateful for your contribution. The Forum for Nationalist Thinkers and Best Innovation University are committed to fostering a meaningful dialogue and intellectual exchange. We believe that events like this book launch are essential in promoting a deeper understanding of critical issues and encouraging informed discussion. Again, particularly, I would like to thank our Ramchandra Rao Garu, who is behind the Forum for National Thinkers, and it is a regular activity of the Forum for bringing this very intellectual discussion to guide each one of us. So thank you, Anna, for the initiation and making this event very successful. And finally, I would like to request not only to just buy the book, what our Madhav ji has, put efforts to bring out the volume, read, digest, process, and take to the society that what the nation is doing, particularly our Honorable Prime Minister is doing, so that the people can appreciate and extend their support for our leadership. Thank you one and all for this wonderful evening and for your time and patience. Thank you. Thank you so much. so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
అదే